Kemono no Shuja Erin.
It's basically like Serai no Moribito, but for a younger audience. There are a number of jokes I feel that don't particularly work. There are a lot of fart jokes for one character, for example, and there's some arcs that aren't particularly good. But what's strong about it is the relationship between Erin and her animals. So it's this kind of animal husbandry series plus fantasy politics series, kind of a mixture of an epic and an intimate sweep. It wasn't fantastic, but I do think it's underrated and largely underwatched.
Tale of Genji is a period drama. It kind of covers a good quarter of the original novel, which was written back in the olden days. The story is about a guy who has to come to terms with what royal life has to offer him and what he has to do to find love. It's basically the tale of the very first form of fetishism. He makes his own wife, so to speak. In terms of psychology and as a character study, it's not bad, but it's very, very boring. It is very, very dry, akin to typical period drama aesthetics. It won't do much for any hardcore anime fan now, and it will seem very un-anime-like, so watch at your own risk.
Basquatch wants to be Gurren Lagann really, really hard. It wants to be this kind of badass shonen series with buckets of style, but the plot was really stupid. It wants to also have basketball for some reason to be cool, I guess, and kind of an American influence, but it is a waste of time.
The setting, I must point out, is fantastically animated.
Yeah, there's some very good animation.
And by the way, there is product placement when it comes to those shoes.
Oh god, I forgot that. It was Nike? Wasn't it Nike?
Yeah. And of course fan service, because they couldn't even focus on a goddamn show about sports. They just had to fuck it all up with random panty shots and boob shots and crap.
Hetalia went for not so much of a historical fiction, but a historical farce, which in of itself is an acquired taste. If you like Marx Brothers comedies where they just make fun of the status quo, Hetalia is very, very, very light. There's not too much bite. It's not gonna like, oh, him messing with my country in such a clever way. There's none of that kind of humor. There is wittiness about it occasionally. You do get some truthful trivia, even though it isn't really used for plot. Speaking of, there is no plot, and the characters go around in circles. They will happily recycle jokes for no other reason. It's a decent time passer because each episode's 5 minutes.
Keon.
It's really similar to Neon Genesis Evangelion in it being a stereotype deconstruction where they take the usual moe stereotype and portray each character with crazy amount of philosophy, and we can see a lot of themes revolving around the meaning of life. Then yeah, it's fucking more shit and it's awful.
I was going to say that, Ivan, are you high right now?
No, I'm not. That was sarcasm.
And most of your sarcasm will not be in the final product.
You should put this in the final product, it's important.
Maybe in your mind, but it's my channel, bitch.
Someone's been watching Breaking Bad.
They're eating cake and drink tea and occasionally playing music.
Somehow eating cakes makes you good at playing guitar.
Yeah. I play guitar myself, and I was kind of like insulted when I saw that the main character learned to play guitar fairly well in 2 days without even practicing, because I heard that a lot of girls in Japan started playing music after they've seen K-On!, and I think that's a really good thing. But for everyone else, everyone who wants to see something that has content in it besides drinking tea and eating cake, please don't watch this show. It's terrible.
Requiem for the Phantom.
One of the rare outings of subtlety for anime. Of course, you would say, hey, Zach, you say mecha story should never be subtle or zombie story should never be quiet. And yes, to an extent, Phantom does play the subtle card a little too much. It downplays the action, the tension's kind of non-existent, but the atmosphere, the dark colors, the character arcs, it's very retro, very 90s movies. If you've ever seen a couple of stories like Nikita or Leon the Professional or stuff like that, it's a wonderful experience. You just have to be prepared for the slow burner effect. Pacing isn't really the best.
We have one of the best anime of all times at this point, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood.
It eventually takes the easy way out on its themes, but for a shonen to still not be pretentious with a lot of themes, and for it to keep up the pacing and keep up the setting expansion, it's a very accomplishing watch.
Some people might not like it because it's trying to shoehorn funny things into the more darker tones of the show, but I think it does a really good job this way. Like,
yes, it has its problems, that all of them are due to the fact that it is a shonen.
Oh wow, a video game adaptation. Is it good? No. Valkyria Chronicles could be good if they had focused on a war drama. But no, instead of that they just have to make some teenagers with a super tongue beating up armies because, well, they're the main protagonists. And then they have this sort of romance going on, and by the end of the day you don't really care about the war. It's just about some half-baked teen drama. Skip the series, play the game.
You have some of the best visuals of a sword and sorcery anime you can expect, but the characters are so dry. Gwyn Saga just is further proof that anime cannot make it fun. It's a very retro-styled Conan the Barbarian story. I can't really recommend it unless you're a fan of old-fashioned stories. The main two characters, it's very hard to care about them because they're constantly clinging to Gwyn, who's amnesiac, and that automatically reduces his character, yet he's got mad skills. And the second half is building up to something that we never get to see. Eden of the East is a classic case of having a nice, understandable, likable idea.
It's an extremely dull and a boring show with no tension and extremely uninteresting characters that seem to have some kind of a personality but never go anywhere with anything.
Characters are way too fluffy for the setting to be taken seriously. About half of the show is to getting to know characters that we probably won't even be able to see in the second half.
But it was just really short, and it had like, this easy-go-lucky thing to it, and they kind of threw in a lot of like stereotypes to make it go like he had amnesia, and we don't know why, and it couldn't take it seriously because of the tone, because it was just too lighthearted.
Just too much, too soon, with too anticlimactic movie sequels.
The second Neon Genesis Rebuild movie. The characters open up too much. If in the main series they were closed into themselves, over here they open up way too fast, and because it's a movie format, it doesn't feel that natural to me because of course I'm accustomed to the main series.
But you know, the biggest complaint about the second movie is of course Mari. It just doesn't do anything for the whole franchise at all.
Does anyone care about her? Just show of
She's
hands.
service. She doesn't do anything in the show.
She's just there to add some glasses fetish.
She's literally just there to sell body pillows.
Okay,
One
and
more character to sell figurines.
it doesn't help
And
the actual franchise's name.
They need less fetish.
Shinji is not being a pussy in this show, which is really surprising if you know the original series, because Shinji is a pussy the entire time and he does nothing. And, like, he just runs away and cries. I personally stick to the original series more. I like it better.
Bakemonogatari.
It's basically taking fan service and giving it some fancy dialogues that appear smart but are actually just in service of fan service. So basically this is just one of those dumb fun anime, but it's a dumb fun that was made better than the usual harem. I mean, it's still depraved of any decency, the story is really loose, the characters lose importance after one episode.
It's probably the most refined harem that we have of today. For all intents and purposes, this anime and K-On! Are the official ruiners of anime.
Bakemonogatari, I think, is about as good as a harem series could ever be. Because when it comes down to it, the same plot mechanics are very similar to harem series. You have a bunch of girls who have problems, which are solved by a male lead, and they all fit certain fetish types. So I feel on the one hand, Bakemonogatari is gorgeously animated. It has some pretty good soundtrack choices. It's surprisingly well written, again by the standards of a harem, but it's still a harem. Good by the standards of what it is, but it's still not great. I just don't think it's the amazing series its fans will say it is.
I disagree.
Oh, go ahead then.
Because I'm a fan. You're right, it's a harem, it's an ecchi. It did a really well job. I would call it a deconstruction of the genre. It's very aware of its own tropes and stereotypes and deals with it in a comedic way. You know, it's hilarious. They use the stereotypes that existed and they kind of put a twist on it, you know? They played around with it, and I think this is really where the strength is in the show. It tries to take apart the stereotypes that we all know from several different harem ecchi shows. Nothing ever happens in the show. They never do anything in the show, just talk. There's like slight action sequences in it, but they're mostly talking, and it sounds boring at first when you think about it, but it's not. It's really interesting. The writing is really good, you know, it keeps you interested in what they say, even if it makes no sense. And they have a lot of references to other shows and other franchises and otaku culture in general, and plays on words, which is really witty. And the soundtrack is great, and the animation is great, and it has a lot of cool things. And I overall think it's a really good franchise. Anyone who likes artsy, fun things should watch it.
I know PA Works has a lot of fans, but most of the series I've watched of theirs, like for example the very popular Angel Beats, I don't care for. On a technical level, their animation is quite good, and Kanan is technically well animated, but it's really badly written. I love this, the girls with guns genre. I'm not someone who demands a lot from it. I just want some women who shoot up other people, and there's some sort of plot that keeps it going. But Kanan has this long, stupid, convoluted plot that makes less sense the more you think about it, and there's characters which are just boring to watch who go on and have conversations that I don't care about.
Tokyo Magnitude 8.0.
The story itself is about two kids going home. It never ever feels gritty. I mean, come on, we've walked away from Grave of the Fireflies. It's more of a social critique of what would happen if society had to face a huge disaster more so than any kind of trauma.
In its dealing of how Japan would deal with an earthquake like this, basically. It centers everything on kids, which in a lesser series would be just kind of moe-ish. Oh, look at these poor kids who have to be protected.
Shock effect.
But the two kids are reasonably well characterized, and the story is engaging. And I really liked it. I thought it was pretty good.
It's too one note for me. I mean, couldn't they just make a movie out of it? They had to make 11 episodes out of it?
It is a bit long. I agree there. It is a bit long.
The ending was very, very rushed, kind of improperly foreshadowed. It's worth watching as just an experience. There's no other anime that did such an effort to make it so refined. There's no fan service, no gimmicks, no fetishes. A good, clean story, if very dry and straightforward.
I actually really like Senka Roll. It's just a half hour of weird animation and some action violence. It doesn't promise anything more than that, and for a half hour, I'm not expecting anything necessarily by way of coherency. I just want something entertaining. Fluidly animated, it has some really interesting character designs, and it's fun. And now you may trash it.
It was the most basic story. The only reason they hyped it was because it was from the new creators project or something. I mean, come on, you're watching basically the pilot episode of a Digimon premise, and then it ends in half an hour. Like, this could have easily turned into a 12-episode series, and they rush everything for 30 minutes. It's like a summary, come on.
I thought it was boring as well. I just watched for the animation. I have nothing else to contribute. Nothing special, I forgot everything.
Did you have a good time? Now, obviously, you two didn't, but I had a big grin on my face the whole time because I just really liked the back and forth. I don't feel a short has to have narrative coherence.
Summer Wars is a ripoff of Digimon with characters that never really develop, a story that stays extremely predictable, is just so bland and generic in every way possible.
It had some good character interactions, it had a nice kind of family setting, and there was kind of an entertaining thing going on with the internet plot.
If you don't love Summer Wars, you don't love family. We only know like a handful of people, and because of the movie format, we don't really get to know them in time. We have a virus attack, and what does that really mean for family? It doesn't mean anything. That's the thing with Summer Wars. Culturally, it doesn't teach us a goddamn thing. Compared with Pom Poko from the 90s, where we had a huge tour de force, it was boring, but you had such a huge cultural understanding of tradition, characters making a stand.
Red line.
It's just a glorious spectacle of every cool thing you can imagine.
There's no better action movie to watch right now in terms of anime.
The animation is amazing.
Took them about 8 years to make this, I heard. Pure hand-drawn. Just a nostalgia fan's dream come true.
It's like a bizarre passion project of its director.
This is pure retro fan service for the 70s and whatnot. Of course, there's not really much to say about plot.
The plot is really basic, as are the characters, but the setting itself is quite unique in its own way.
I'll grant you that the film is probably a little long, and it's not that long a movie.
It's a blast of Tempest. Done.
No.
Oh god, the Book of Bantora. Oh dear lord. It was pretentious and stupid and mediocre. It took itself really seriously with a really idiotic plot about magic books and book bannings and some other stupid stuff that I only half remember.
They kept on throwing in magic fantasies and random plot twists, and towards the end it became such a clusterfuck of random things happening one after another. There was no time or focus to just cherish or understand anything, so by the end of the day, it was fucking nonsense, really. Railgun Season 1.
It takes the Index universe and focuses on the girls and is written better. It doesn't have the same setup like finds a girl, the girl's a problem, he punches the problem and the problem goes away and he's in the hospital and then the girl likes it. And this one is much more like fluid, like with everyday life with some troubles here and there. It's okay. It's really good if you like slice of life. It's really good if you like the franchise. If all, you watch it for the characters because you like them.
Sacred Blacksmith, I kind of like the premise that it was this kind of fantasy medieval setting, but right from the first episode, I knew it would just be this stupid fan service show. Even the sword turns out to be a girl who wears, thin and loose-fitting clothing. It had some really terrible English, a ridiculous child character who was an empress, and it had incredibly long speeches by people that I could not care less about. If you want to get a couple friends over, get really drunk, and watch crap anime, Sacred Blacksmith is a really good choice.
Darker Than Black, second season.
Horrible. The first season was clean, great action, and the second is basically throwing everything interesting about the first season into the trash bin so they can add a pacifist lolly nobody wanted to see or hear from.
Fairy Tail.
As far as the story goes, they never go anywhere. As far as the characters go, they never go anywhere with their personalities, agendas. Quite generic.
It's basically a shonen for babies. I mean, really, there's not much of a plot or character development, and everything's about the power of friendship. Bullshit.
Cucho Barranco is an episodic satire of different issues that people deal with casually. They use allegories for animals to help articulate the traits that they go through.
It just takes a series of psychedelic images, similar to stuff like Kemonozume, and it just gets this psychological stuff, illustrates their psychological problems through means of surreal animation, and tells a series of stories. It has an engaging main character, and it has an excellent episodic structure, and has very clever use of its diverse animation. Not all the episodes were great, but it was generally a very interesting watch.
It's all very colorful, the humor's right, placing comedy over critique. If you're asking for an overall plot, you're not going to find it. The TV show came out in December.
You're not gonna find it on the databases, but you must watch this on YouTube. It's amazing. And now, the overall impressions of the year. I think we all three agree that the best series was Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood and the best movie was Redline.
Yeah, I think that Evangelion was better, but that's just me being an Evangelion fan.
That's the thing, though, with Evangelion is it's mostly just fan service. So taken as an overall effort, I'd probably think that Redline is the better movie for it being just totally made for itself.
The peak of it being Monogatari, and yeah, I think 2009 had a lot of worse shows, though it had also really good shows.
Some good stuff, some really bad stuff. Not a particularly great year overall.
Kind of like a dry year, didn't really have like an overall theme, so to speak. We have the bane of anime, and we have one of the greatest animes ever made, so it's kind of like a turning point. 2009, the calm before the storm.
Doo-doo-doo-doom. 22 titles for autumn, with the worst one being, of course, the second season of Dark and Black. The first one wasn't exactly great, but it retained a sense of maturity and seriousness. This one, on the other hand, is bullshit! Trying to explain the story made it look retarded, characters changed personality out of screen, newer ones sucked ass, and the ending is just nonsensical. If you want yet another proof of why sequels suck ass, this is a fine specimen. This sacred blacksmith could have been a decent medieval epic quest with wizards, warriors, and blacksmiths. But since it's modern anime we are talking about, it just had to turn to yet another excuse for harem and fan service bullshit. Basquash starts off like an actually good sports anime for a change. I mean, they play basketball with huge robots and in space. But nah, it quickly proven to be just another mediocrity, full of fan service and product placement for Awesome Shoes brand. Needless pretends to be a parody of fighting shonen, but I never saw it as either funny or memorable. The lack of a plot and the weak production values for a Madhouse show just make it needless to watch. The second season of Haruhi, or is it a remake? Whatever. Endless 8 was a ridiculous idea, and the chronological order of the events proved what a stupid bitch Haruhi was all along and made millions of Haruhists to regret all the offerings they left in her temples. Umineko has that stupid time reset gimmick Higurashi used, but unlike that one it didn't get a complete adaptation, so it's a waste of time to bother with the show. By the way, it wasn't fully adapted because it didn't have killer lolis, thus the otakus didn't care about it, and thus it wasn't profitable to make another season. Or did you honestly think they cared about the murder mysteries or something? And best of all the failures is King of Thorn, a very rushed adaptation of a post-apocalyptic manga. Do you want a movie full of shit around people you won't give a damn dying and a mystery concerning magic science that gets a convoluted explanation? Then watch this movie. Welcome to the fan service section and say hello to Asura Crying, a light novel adaptation which we all know what it's all about. Random superpowers and an unnecessarily complicating plot just to mask a harem. 11 Eyes, aka I hope Persona Games won't figure out we stole all their ideas. Do you want a soft porn version of Persona Games with a time reset ending? Try this one and then reconsider the public opinion that Persona 4 is a bad show. Sasame Kikoto, lesbian fetish. First season of Heaven's Lost Property, angels fetish. Miracle Train, Bishonen Trains fetish. Second season of Natsuno Arashi, ghost girl fetish. Second season of Nogizaka, Haruka no Himitsu, otaku girlfriend fetish. Second season of Koihime Musu, Romance of the Three Kingdoms with lolis fetish. Seitokai no Ichizon, school council harem fetish. Comfort, fighting chicks fetish. Second season of Queen's Blade, more fighting chicks fetish. Nyan Koi, cats fetish. And we reach the top 3 of the season with a third place belonging to the second season of White Album. It's a generic romance about pop idols and I have nothing to talk about it, but hey, no fan service so automatically better. Second place goes to Aoi Bungaku, an anthology of stories based on classic Japanese literature, which means they have a million times more quality in writing than your average harems and school romances. And combined with super Madhouse visuals, it becomes a very enjoyable watch for people with taste. And finally, Kuchuburanko, the episodic cases of patients suffering from all sorts of mental problems, and the wacky shrink, who is there to aid them. It may not have much plot, but it's artsy and fun for what it is. Also, it's not an anthology like Aoi Bungaku, so I place it above it. Summer has 31 completed titles, with the worst one being Shuten Kuro. Aside from the hype the show got for its very slow fan sub releases, it was also made to look like a great prequel to the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Turns out it was just a poorly conceived supernatural nonsense tale. The coming of age aspect was cool, but why are you throwing in magic in a setting that doesn't need it? Aside from that, it's a boring watch. 07 Ghost pretends to be some mystery adventure about a boy caught between the conflict of religion and the army, while also dealing with the mystery behind some weird ghosts. And instead of making use of any of its potential, it wastes all its duration in slice of life and homolust, where nothing is happening. I mean, seriously, 24 episodes where nothing is happening, unless Fujoshi bait crap counts as plot for some reason. Shangri-La pretends to be a post-apocalyptic adventure regarding the conflict between pro-ecology groups and greedy multinational companies. But since it's gonzo not knowing what the hell they're doing, the whole show is nothing but non-stop scenes of random ideas, goofy action, and of course the obligatory schoolgirl fan service bit. Best part, the setting doesn't even have schools, and yet there she is constantly dressed as one. And seriously, what's all this obsession with Murata anyways? Everybody was hyping this show just for his art style, which is cool but also wasted on terrible gonzo shows. Modern magic made simple. For those of you who think Madoka Magica is an original idea, check out this one. It's the first in a long line of originals. Other than that, it's a complete flop. The directing is terrible, the script is all over the place, the artwork is generic, and by the end of it you just barely have anything important to remember it for. Oh my god, what's up with the epic quest failures this season? We got a dozen of them. Tears to Tiara. Epic quest turns to harem. And not even the fame by the makers of Wate Wararimo no, whatever it's called, could save this travesty for being the bullshit it is. Slap Up Party. Epic quest turns to a boring comedy. Pandora Hearts. Epic quest turns to a boring mystery. Valkyria Chronicles. Epic quest turns to slice of life romance. Queen Saga. Epic quest turns to boring politics. Plus it's incomplete. Senko Roll. A whole season worth of plot compressed in just 20 minutes. And some pretend it's actually working. Summer Wars. A stupid Digimon ripoff that pretends to be about family and then throws in a global threat that is resolved by a card game that is based on luck. The romance is retarded, there are way too many useless characters, the ending is a cop-out. It's a bad movie, you tasteless weeboos! Shin Mazinger Shugeki Z is a tribute to one of the first and most famous giant robot shows. They kept the art style the same, the intro song kicks ass, and the plot has lots of weird concepts in it, in order to flavor an otherwise simple story about a guy in a robot fighting other robots. It should have been something I liked a lot, but wasn't. The pilot episode was the worst possible way to begin it all, basically being a summary that spoils the whole plot in a most confusing way imaginable. You shouldn't do that ever! You also think it ends? Well, too bad, because it doesn't. Also, I didn't like how they tried to make everything even more grimdark than the original. The art style is just too silly to accept it as dramatic or serious, and that contradicts the whole point of trying to make the plot seem dark and mysterious. This is why Mazinger SKL, which came out a few years afterwards, is way more entertaining than this one. I appreciate the effort placed in the making, but it just doesn't work as a whole. If there is one thing I love about fan service shows, is that one-liners are more than enough to describe them instead of having to waste time into analyzing them. So off we go. Princess Lover, harem with rich people fetish. Hayata the Combat Butler, second season of the first version. Tsundere and Butler fetish. Umi Monogatari, mermaid magical girls fetish. Fighty Patsu Chuden-chan, clubbing magical girls fetish. Kana-an, chicks with guns fetish. Sweet Blue Flowers, lesbian fetish. First season of Saki, cute girls playing cute mahjong. Kana Memo, cute girls delivering cute newspapers. Art design class, cute girls drawing cute pictures. Ah, the pretentious category, and who else could possibly be in it if not for Uro Butcher and his Requiem for the Phantom. Although I admit it is the best show with assassins, I can also not overlook the endless monologues coming out of these emotionless puppets and their moral world where stuff happened with no real significance. And for those of you who actually think this is a great and memorable show, can you explain why from all the themes, all the characters, all the events you can find in here, the only thing everybody ever talks about is the final episode? I will tell you why. Because shock factor and not following the canon. That's the only thing Uro Butcher fags cared about. And here we are with yet another pretentious one by none other than Uro Butcher's Body Nasu. The Garden of Sinners is the second most pretentious anime ever made, topped only by the second Ghost in the Shell movie. You literally get nothing but people saying fancy stuff that mean nothing. Oh, there is a story alright, there is atmosphere and fancy visuals, and it's all as dull and emotionless as any good pretentious piece of work should be. You can watch it for the directing and for making up shit that explain what they're saying is supposed to mean, but calling it a good psychological supernatural occult mystery? Nah. Ah, another category that doesn't need more than a one-liner to describe its shows. Welcome to the Nothing Ever Happens Slice of Life department. Sora no Mani Mani, Astronomy Club Slice of Life. Taisho Baseball Girls. Feministic Sports Team Slice of Life. Second season of Spice and Wolf. A cute wolf girl and a trader are having cute slice of life moments. And nobody cares about the economy stuff! Time of Eve. Short stories about people coexisting with very realistic looking robots. There is a lot of meat in this setting, but they don't really explore it. It never gets really deep or really meaningful. So as much as I would like it to be more meaningful, it sadly is just slice of life with a few science fiction bits in the background. But it's cool for what it is. Third season of Sayonara Zetsupo Sensei. A parody of social norms, and that's all you need to know about it to accept it as a very good comedy. And we reached the top 3. Say hello to Redline! That made sports to be actually fun! 1! This is the absolute racing title with amazing production values and the rule of cool, showing the middle finger to common sense without breaking immersion. It's a blast! Second place to the original Bakemonogatari. I already mentioned the reason in 2013. It's a harem, but it is also a mindfuck, and unlike the other shaft titles, it wasn't shafting yet. And the top one is Tokyo Magnitude 8.0, a survival drama about kids trying to get home after a major earthquake. Now, before any of you start screaming about it, shut factor! And yet I like it, let me clarify that I don't like it much, and that the tragedy comes from a natural disaster. No magic aliens or espers, a natural disaster! And it's also a fairly boring watch. I mean, the only thing going for it is the psychology of the characters, and even that is not that much. But for a medium that is overflowing with wish fulfillment and overpowered teenagers, this is good stuff for a change. Different, has a point, doesn't overstay its welcome, and doesn't make cum buckets out of little children. Not very entertaining, but good nonetheless. Title of the season. Meh, once again, spring is a boring season with nothing worthy to award, so we will go over the titles in a hurry and cover the rest of the year in the same video. Bottom rank to Chrome Shell Dragios, yet another Attack on Titan type of story and complete shit because it's based on light novels. I mean, they keep saying it's a post-apocalyptic world where they need to defend cities from huge monsters, and most of the duration is spent on harem nonsense, terrible English, and on top of that it's left incomplete. Second season of Polyphonica, a tale where worlds of magic and science collide, just to offer us some low-budget musical slice of life. Disregard how it's supposed to be about the balance of the universe or something. Kuro Kami is yet another Shana clone, where we get supernatural action just for masking convoluted school romance nonsense. Eden of the East had so much potential to be a great political thriller with high doses of social criticism, as well as a death tournament full of mind games. And it quickly becomes a retarded tale full of magic cell phones, amnesia bullshit, sappy romance, and a face-palming ending. Cool opening song though. Musashi is about the life of a legendary samurai, but instead of cool samurai action, all you get is a boring documentary. First Squad is about a combo of alien invasion and zombie apocalypse that are supposed to be dealt with in just 1 hour, so there is absolutely no time to explore a setting full of factions that used to be at war with each other. Asylum Session is a messy premise of artistic liberty and social criticism that are, again, supposed to be dealt with in just 1 hour. Thus, there is no time to explore anything. The Girl Who Leapt Through Space is a referential comedy of various space-related shows, and not even a good one at that. First season of Ashura Crying, yet another generic light novel about a school of dorks, superpowers, and a harem. First season of Natsuno Arashi, Ghost Girl Fetish. First season of Queen's Blade, Fighting Chicks Fetish. Ristorante Paradiso, Reverse Harem with Cooks. Taiyu Tama, Harem with Monster Girls Fetish. Candy Boy, Lesbians. First season of K-On! Cute girls playing with cute guitars and drinking cute tea. Fifth season of Major! Baseball. Sports. Third season of Hajime no Ippo. Sports. Boxing. And don't give me these excuses about, it's very thrilling, it's full of action and all that stuff. It's still about a sport, okay? Hatsukoi Limited. Slice of life school romance, one of the same shit as always. First season of Sengoku Basara. Silly action with samurai warlords. Not very gar, not very wow, but still a nice pastimer. And the best title of this boring season is the second season of Slayer's Revolution. An action comedy regarding a witch with a flat chest blowing up shit because issues. Well, Japan and epic fantasy never went along very well, you know that. It worked as a comedy back in the 90s, but the 90s are way past our age. The humor was too dated and there wasn't much plot to make up for it, so not many cared. And now we can move to winter, where we have lots of better shows to go over, but first we need to suffer through the garbage. Munto is akin to Polyphonica, a get-up about worlds colliding, a major catastrophe being about to begin, and the whole presentation is just lazy and closer to slice of life than the apocalyptic epic tale it's supposed to be. You watch lined barrels of iron for some cool robot action? Well, too bad, because it soon turns to done-to-death harem bullshit. It's modern anime, what did you expect? You think a Ride Back is a science fiction political thriller about terrorists and military robots? No, dude, it's about a girl piloting a dancing motorcycle while flashing her pantsu to everybody. And it sucks! Say, how do you stop wars and killings? Why, by making wars and even more killings, while not forgetting to have a power-up every 5 episodes so you can sell a lot of toys. That is what the second season of Gundam 00 has taught us all. Second season of Corpse Princess. Vengeful spirits turn to zombie girl fanservice. Psychic Squad. X-Men turns to K-On! And Japan failing to make a proper epic adventure continues. Tales of the Abyss. Epic adventure turns to boring chatting. Second season of Kyo Karamao. Epic adventure turns to stupid comedy. Second season of The Tower of Druaga. Epic adventure turns to stupid comedy. Again. Zamdu Lost Memories. Epic adventure turns to a convoluted mess nobody can understand because bones. Third season of Hellgirl. Occult horror turns to episodic fan service. Gushern Sins. Post-apocalyptic action mystery turns to episodic and confusing force drama. And the ending is terrible. 1 outs. Failed combo of sports and gamble. This is Kaiji done wrong. First season of a certain magical index. Light novel adaptation about a guy punching people and getting chicks to his harem. Clannad after story. Romance with forced drama and reset ending. And no, it's not the most realistic thing ever imaginable. It's fantasy empowerment, and no matter how good they made it seem, it's still that. And for all of you who think I'm too much of a retro fag who does not appreciate modern shit, if something is retro and sucks, I will still call it bad as it deserves it. For example, Golgo 13. It's just fantasy empowerment about an emotionless assassin being cool and mysterious in an episodic fashion. And he's fucking boring and has no setbacks. We know nothing about him. He's just there killing people. And that's not cool or interesting, and I fucking hate him. Bad show. Titania. Now see, this is a space opera from the same guy who made Legend of the Galactic Heroes. I should be head over heels about it, but I'm not, because it's badly animated, boring, and it's left incomplete. So no, see, despite being exactly what I would love, I don't, because it's a bad show. And now make room for the fan service section. Aki-kan, Soda-kan girls, Samurai Harem, the name alone tells you what it is. Fourth season of Maria Watches Over Us, lesbians. First season of Maria Holic, more lesbians. What's with the name Maria and lesbians anyways? First season of Black Butler, Fujoshi bait with butlers. And don't pretend there is depth in here, because there isn't. Now make more room for Slice of Nothing Ever Happens. Third season of Minami Ke, slice of life comedy about silly girls doing silly things. Second season of Natsume Yujincho, slice of life fantasy about a guy going around doing silly stuff with spirits. Part 1 of the first season of White Album, romance about pop idols. Kirarin Revolution, romance comedy about pop idols. Skip Bit, romance comedy about pop idols, again, only this time it's actually good. Too bad it's incomplete. Toradora, romance comedy about a tsundere schoolgirl voiced by Rieku Gimiya. And don't lose your minds over it, it's just a school comedy, for Pete's sakes, calm the fuck down. Genji Monogatari, slice of life dramatic period drama. Well, at least it's something different. Thank God, no more schools. Make even more room for, at least there is action in these titles. Viper's Creed, action about a generic sci-fi military trippy adventure stuff. Forgettable, but hey, it's action, no schools, hey. Michiko and Hachin, slice of life action about a mother and child bonding together, with some cool action bits here and there, but not much plot. They could have done a lot more with it, but they didn't. At least there is action. Top 3 of the season, with the third place belonging to the first season of Sunred. No plot, but well-made Power Rangers parody. Second place, we have Soul Eater, which on the surface is yet another perpetual ongoing fighting shonen, but on closer inspection it focuses a lot more on the mentality of its characters and has a very catchy art style. Too bad the ending sucks. And the best of the season is the second season of Birdie the Mighty. Unlike the first one, which was a generic action flick with an aloof girl, here we get far more focus on the characters and their backdrops, showing us how they tick, as well as how the world around them works. It's simply a far more wonderful overall, which just doesn't feel like silly comedy and trashes its sad moments like Soul Eater does. Too bad they never animated the whole story though. As for the winners of the year, the 3 seasonal winners are good on their own, but they are no match for the carryover from the next year, which is none other than Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, the best shonen of all times. Of course, the casuals will most likely choose Clannad After Story or Toradora as best of the year, but what do they know? Best movie of the year? Well, there is only one I mentioned as worthy, and it's none other than Redline, one of the best racing action flicks ever made. As for the best OVA, I didn't mention a single one, so the winner is the only carryover for several years now, Hellsing Ultimate, which will remain a candidate for many years to come. As for notable mentions, we have a few worthy to check out, with Soul Eater being also a candidate for the earlier year. There haven't been any major changes for a while, so this update will cover 3 years in a row. The only thing I add as a notable mention in 2011 is One Piece, since at that time the Marineford battle took place. Yeah, it was slow as hell with crappy animation, but it was also the last good part, before everything went to shit because of the time skip. Oh well, it was nice while it lasted. So here are the winners before we move to the previous years. There are no changes in the winners of 2010, and there was only an addition to the roster. It's a movie called Colorful, which I didn't bother to watch all this time because it seemed to be just a slice of life. But I remember people were calling it amazing back when it came out, so I checked it out. It was a lot more complex than I thought, and yet far more boring than a typical slice-of-life TV series. It had interesting concepts, alright, from bullying to depression to suicide, and they even tried to make it metaphysical by throwing in spirits in the afterlife. And despite all that, it was so empty of tension. I almost fell asleep twice, and I was left with nothing to remember it for. So to hell with it, it's not good for what it's supposed to be. And now the winners before we move to the previous year. 2009 has many changes and they are all found in autumn. I had awarded Ku Chuburanko as the anime of the season because I found it to be a fun comedy about psychological problems. But a year later I see it as nothing more than yet another plotless comedy which has only one good idea repeating in every episode without ever resulting to something specific. So I no longer consider it to be psychological since it does very little with it and it's mostly a comedy. Thus its rank drops from 8 to 3. It still deserves a notable mention though. What takes its place as the title of the season is Aoi Bungaku for being a fairly mature anthology of Japanese literature. It is also consisting of short arcs, but each of them lasts longer than an episode and does more with its concepts than Kuchiburanko did. An addition to the autumn roster is Kemono no Shouja airing. I had refused to check it out a year ago because it was for kids and I didn't bother to include those. After receiving a lot of pressure by a guy who kept yelling what a masterpiece it is, I decided to give it a try. On the plus side, for a kiddie show, it has very good atmosphere, very well fleshed out characters and setting, and even includes lots of dark themes like animal misuse and political intrigue. On the negative side, all its good ideas are destroyed by the simple fact it is still a show for little kids. What is the point of having death and bloodshed when you are always keeping it out of screen or mellow it down so it won't scare the kids? There is also so much comic relief that you just don't care when the characters try to take themselves seriously for 2 minutes every 5 episodes. Also, the pacing is dreadful. Although there is an ongoing plot, they are stretching it to move as slow as possible. It could have been half as long and it would still be considered slow. Thus, although it is better than a typical kiddie series, it has lots of problems which overshadow the positives. Consider it a slow as hell censored version of a tragic comic of age, and you might enjoy it as a notable time waster. No other changes have been made in the other seasons, so here are the winners for 2009. Dance in a Vampire Band.
So compared to the content that's supposed to be like some horror anime about vampires and werewolves and like this epic battle, the art was very, very bright. It was really vibrant and I don't think it needed those vibrant colors, but you know, Shaft, they like to make everything very flashy and it just didn't go well with this type of anime. The whole thing was kind of ridiculous and definitely had more of a political type thing going on with like, oh, the vampire shouldn't be allowed to exist. The politics isn't really important in the end, it's just a weird fetish show about lollies and vampires.
I have to look like I'm 6,
They want to cover the whole spectrum of fetishes, so.
like every other fan service show.
Durarara.
So this was supposed to be a show about gangs, and I don't think they exactly know the meaning of gangs, whoever did this show, because it's more of a show about kids trying to look intimidating, but fails. Thought it was lacking direction from the very start, because you have these 3 central characters, and they're just the worst characters out of all of the other characters. Like, if they focused on any other characters, the show would be much better.
I did have fun while watching it, but right now I can't remember a single good thing about it except dumb fun for the sake of dumb fun.
Katana Gatari.
The story itself is kind of cookie cutter, kind of, you have to find the swords and gather them together and all this bullshit, and it was episodic, so the story just didn't come together as well as I thought. But overall, I still really enjoyed this. It's probably one of the best anime for this year because of the art style and also because of the characters that were more interesting than most. The dialogue is definitely a bit more witty and like there's good banter between the characters.
It's an okay anime, it won't be a waste of time, but I don't think it's great.
This was the best troll comedy I had ever watched. Everything was foreshadowing stuff that never happened or happened in a completely different way. And if you expect to see an epic action show, you're not gonna get it. It's very dialogue based. Just stick on the jokes and the character interactions. The disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya.
So this is the movie for the series that's critically acclaimed and everybody loved it so much. And at this point people were really pissed off because of Endless 8. The main problem I have with this movie is Kohn's choice in the end. And it seems rational, because obviously you would choose Haruhi because she's God. The whole reason why the movie happened in the first place was because Yuki had problems just telling her feelings to Kohn, and she went to all this trouble just to tell him she likes her, and at the end Kohn just rejects her completely and goes for Haruhi. And it was just a dick move to me. And Haruhi's just an awful character. Like, Yuki's, she's kind of boring. She's a kudere, so she doesn't talk much or whatever. She's a nice character though. In comparison to Haruhi, I would choose Yuki over Haruhi any day. Overall, the movie, I didn't enjoy it all that much. This is decent as far as KyoAni and all that crap goes. I'm just not a fan of the genre in general, but it was better than the series at least, so I'll admit that.
This is, again, for some reason categorized as a seinen. Makes no sense.
I know, but it's Japan. Many things don't make sense there.
They have vendor machines with panties.
What?
Yeah, they do. You can buy panties, used panties.
Yeah, women
Apparently-
sell
Used
their
panties.
panties and men go and buy them from vending machines.
Yeah.
Because they want to
Wow.
vent, get it?
Okay, the more you know. Did
I
I
didn't
miss
feel like
anything
that.
if I haven't watched the first season?
You have to know that Haruhi is God and that she's a bitch, and that's all you need to know.
Stupid, boring. No matter how well you present shallow school life, it's in the end still shallow school life with a fancy exterior.
Oh, we're not doing Sleeping with Hinako?
Former human has fallen asleep. This is the video documentary of her differences being pattern. Okay,
It is obviously the anime of the year. It gave us some amazing patterns on sleeping, some advanced techniques on how to sleep. Sleeping with Hinako. Best anime ever.
Welcome to the space show.
It's a very long movie, and it's also quite boring. The characters, they're all kids. It's pretty much a coming-of-age story. They go on to this different planet, they find this talking dog. They have to figure out what's going on the planet, and the story isn't really that important. The visuals were kind of interesting, but aside from that, it was very boring.
A talking dog is kidnapping children who are sent to go on holidays all alone on a mountain, worst parents ever, and they travel all around the galaxy selling drugs. Not to mention how it was presenting every alien civilization like it's basically our capitalistic system, with fast foods. You need money to work. Okay, you're right. What kind of things are this movie showing to children?
someone was high as fuck while doing this movie.
Okay.
I can just imagine him pitching the idea. It's like, hey guys, we're gonna do this kids movie. It's gonna be some aliens.
Hey guys! I have this
They're
great
gonna sell
idea.
drugs.
It's the
They're gonna
best
sell
idea.
drugs to other aliens. There's gonna be a talking dog. It's gonna be amazing. We're gonna put trippy as hell visuals in it, and we're gonna get a British singer to sing the outro theme. Don't worry about the cost. I got it, guys. Welcome to the space show.
Gundam Unicorn.
The retro callback to Gundam, and it's pretty much an attempt by Sunrise to get the old school Gundam fans on their side again, because after crap like Gundam 00 and Gundam Seed and Gundam Seed Destiny and whatever the one that was before that, pretty much they just wanted the support of older fans, so they did this retro callback Gundam. So it's kind of a continuation of the UC universe. All the character designs are really old school and stuff, but if anything, we at least got some cool Gundam battles out of this. But aside from that, I wasn't really compelled by the story. The characters were not really all that interesting. But it looks nice. It looks really nice. A lot of cool fighting scenes. The animation was really great. But characters and story, downfall of this.
It's mecha porn. You skip the dialogues, you watch 15 minutes of the fights and move on to the next episode. Because you won't miss a single thing if you skip through all the dialogue.
Legend of Koizumi. It's Gar Mahjong. That's all you need to know. Okay, so Angel Beats. Angel Beats is another key work, but instead of KyoAni doing it this time, they gave the responsibility to PA Works. And PA Works has done some of the most boring freaking anime I've seen in my life. They did Red Data Girl and Tari Tari. And now they're doing Nagino Asukara. And Angel Beats was really, really boring. but it was less boring than some of their other stuff. The comedy, I think, was the main draw of this, but it honestly wasn't all that great. There was a few good moments here and there, but the part where it mainly failed was the drama, because Keyworks are known for their super things that make your feels go crazy. But the drama in this show just felt really weak. Well, the only arc that I even cared about was the main character's one, where like he gets killed in a train and then like he donates his organs or whatever. That was the only arc that I just kind of felt even sad. The rest of the arcs were just so boring. People were like crying and stuff about the musician girl, and I'm like, what? I don't care at all about this character. She barely got any development. It's just very random. They're trying to mix comedy and drama too much. Sometimes you just can't separate the two genres. And also, the main female looks like Haruhi, and yeah, she has purple hair.
They take a semi-intelligent concept of people who are going in sort of a purgatory, but then they make purgatory a fucking high school. We had a lot of characters, and every character got a maximum development of like 3 minutes. The protagonist was generic, boring, uninteresting, good guy, Greg guy who just wanted to be good and get in the white hair girl's pants. We also had the Haruhi clone. The action was well animated, but then again, nobody cares because nobody can die, and when they shoot it at each other, nothing happens. Who cares about the flashy animation if it's in a fucking high school? Nobody cares if you animate a high school well, because it's the same as every other fucking high school anime they made.
This show needed twice as many episodes. They rushed through everything. They wasted most of the episodes on random comedy instead of fleshing out the characters. And there were tens of thousands of viewers who actually cried and laughed. They have it in their favorites. The anime community is so easily pleased, guys, and this is the proof of that. This badly done, badly paced, and badly overall school comedy managed to be one of the biggest hits of the year. Well, there's no reason to try any harder. This is what they like.
Rainbow, I think it was one of the better anime of the year. It does have its problems. They just really try hard with the drama. It's a bit much. They go over the top sometimes, but it kind of has a Gar feeling about it, especially near the end with the boxing arc and stuff. They're trying at least with this anime.
A good anime. Every character had his own personality. They didn't throw panties at us. And I think the first part was done much better because the second is over the top with unnecessary drama. But it's a decent anime.
House of Five Leaves. The art style is different, the pacing is pretty slow, but it's still enjoyable. And for an anime that's set in the Edo period, it just doesn't really have a focus on like samurais, and it's based around this group of thieves, and just kind of goes against the whole kind of honor thing, and you must do things honorably, and all that shit. For an anime to stand out, it needs to be different, and at least this anime managed to do that. It was a little boring. It was not that bad compared to other anime that I say are boring.
Tatami Galaxy! Hype, 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 hype.
Hey, you're Tatami Galaxy. What can I say about this anime? It's
Fuck yeah!
fuck. Most people will not watch this. If you're like a casual anime viewer, you're gonna look at the art style and you're gonna see how fast the dialogue is, and you're gonna be like, oh, fuck this shit, I don't want to watch it. This is an anime. This is some bullshit. And that's what I really hate, when people just don't want to give things a try because it's different. A lot of the complaints that I hear about the show is that, oh, it's episodic and the plot doesn't connect, but it does. I imagine those people have not finished the show, so they're just watching it one by one episode, and they don't realize that it's all connected. The last episode was just so cathartic, and it just felt epic, and you don't get that much with anime these days.
Tatami Galaxy is the prime example of having an idea and being capable to actually write. So it definitely stands out from the rest of the crowd, but not in a bad way, only in the most positive of ways.
Broken Blade.
The only good thing I can say about this was the animation looked pretty decent. I think it was trying to go for an Escaflowne type thing, but it just did not work.
Steampunk fantasy.
Yeah, so they try to throw in these politics about these countries that are going at war with each other and stuff, and it could have been interesting, but just the way they did it was very bland. I don't know, there's just no tension. They had a good setup, and they just squandered it by having the crappy main protagonist. His personality was really boring as well. He was just kind of like one of those really good, moral, upstanding protagonists. The setting was interesting with the whole wars and everything that was going on, but they just did not utilize it properly.
Outstanding animation and outstanding bad characters. The authors had no fucking idea what they wanted to do with the show. They had the love triangle, but they never did anything with the love triangle. They had a political scene, but they never did anything with the political scene. A bunch of random ideas and no vision to connect them outside of random mecha battles.
It's like a failed Escaflowne. It's like if they tried to make Escaflowne, but they failed.
Legend of the Legendary Heroes. No relation with Legend of the Galactic Heroes.
No, it's not. They tried to do it in a fantasy setting, but the characters were not interesting.
They tried to make the plot non-linear and complicating, but it ended up being confusing and incomplete.
Yeah, I didn't even understand when it ended. I'm like, oh, it ended? Like, what? There was no climax, there was no build-up, the story was kind of everywhere.
Most were watching this just because the main character has the same voice actor as Lelouch from Code Geass. What a great
It had to be done.
High School of the Dead.
High
Tits.
School of the Tits. The first zombie anime, and it's about tits. There's barely any zombies in this. It's just a high school anime.
It's
They're in high school. They're in high school for like, I think only the first 2 episodes, and then they go outside and it's just fan service. It's from a porn artist. And this is the first zombie anime. So when people ask like, oh, is there anime with zombies in it? High School of the Dead.
shit.
This is what we have to offer to people that like zombies. Shiki. This is a horror anime, and we all know how well horror and anime mix.
They don't.
At first it felt a lot like Higurashi, because of, it's in a village and there's a freaking curse, but then there's not, and then it's actually some vampires. I just couldn't connect with any of the main characters. I think the only interesting guy was the doctor guy. All the other characters were just really boring. I really hated the main emo protagonist. That guy was freaking useless. The art style was really weird. Like, I wouldn't say it was bad weird, but different.
It was bad for the setting. You can't make something serious
Yeah.
with that kind of hair.
Yeah, that hair. Holy shit.
It's like watching Yu-Gi-Oh! All
the
over
hair.
again.
Like,
Many people consider this to be a very good vampire show and they think it's very scary, but come on, these are not scary vampires, look at their hair!
the hair was insane. The last few episodes in general were really fun because it was just like a massacre of blood. Aside from that though, I think the story kind of built up really slowly. Like I said, horror and anime don't mix very well, especially with these kind of character designs.
Not even the story made any sense. I mean, creating a vampire village. How would they survive if they had no blood? The story was bullshit! The Secret World of Ariete.
I don't know what to say, it's just kind of a boring kids movie. No, it looks nice because it's Studio Ghibli and everything, and the morals are pretty decent and stuff. Aside from that, I was kind of bored with it. It just felt like every other kids movie. At least stuff like Princess Mononoke and Nausicaä had
Yeah,
kind of
those
a
two
more-
weren't kids' movies.
They had a more epic feel to it, and you felt like at least something was in danger. You didn't feel like any of the characters were in danger at all in this movie. It just felt so safe and so secured and boring.
Loops Garous.
Oh, fuck that shit. I don't even want to talk about it.
Easily the worst sci-fi anime movie of the past 30 years. If you think Psychopaths had issues, this movie manages to have 10 times more problems in lesser duration. Be warned, this is a pile of shit. With lollies, because why not, Japan? Even Valvrave made more sense.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I watched it and I'm just like, oh, no. I don't want to remember anything about that. Colorful, an interesting movie because of the concept and the twist at the end, which you were kind of expecting, but it's just a nice coming-of-age movie, and the way they handled it was pretty good. I think the pacing could have been a little better. It felt a little slow-paced to me, but as far as like slice-of-life drama-type stuff goes, this was definitely a much better attempt at it than, most school-life bullshit. It just took itself a lot more seriously and just handled the issues well.
Star Driver.
I think they tried to go for another Eureka 7, except much less serious and really quirky characters. And they tried to reference Utena a lot in this. Like even the transformation sequences and stuff. Your anime is not going to be great if you reference something good. It's just going to have a reference. It's freaking mecha fighting and it's very boring kind of monster of the week type thing. Same thing every week. Even the climax did not feel that interesting.
Gay, repetitive, and boring. The end.
The World God Only Knows was supposed to be like a revolutionary harem, like reconstructing the harem genre. And I don't know how, because it's the freaking same thing as a visual novel, because he just goes from girl to girl and they forget after each arc. And that's not deconstruction. I don't know what the hell people were thinking when they said it was a deconstruction.
It uses amnesia as its main focal point. Do I need to say anything more as a proof that how shit this whole thing is? Conquering girls and then making them forget everything. In effect, women in the show are treated like objects. The protagonist doesn't care about the girls, he doesn't want to help them, he just wants to conquer them. So in effect, this is like the dating simulation version of Sword Art Online.
Bakuman,
An interesting shonen, it had decent characters, it's a decent watch.
especially the first season, because they didn't rush it on the third season. It started out pretty great. It was an interesting concept because you get to see how a mangaka lives his life, and you read manga and you watch anime, but you don't really know much about the creators. So it was just an interesting look at it. Obviously it's really cliched and it's not all that realistic. It's not really as honest as I would like it to be. Something like NHK is much more honest. I thought their original idea ideas were way better than the ideas that they ended up settling on. Like the mind as currency type idea was really cool, and also the space idea. And like ideas that they ended up settling on were just really boring and cliche. I'm like,
Yeah,
why
but
would you
that's also
do that
part
with?
of the thing, you know. They're
Because
saying
they want
that
to
it's
be
not really
popular,
good
not
ideas,
Exactly,
so-
that's the
quality.
you have to have a popular idea, not a quality idea, and that kind of made me sad. So I'm sure like a lot of shonen artists have these really interesting ideas, which would probably be good in a seinen magazine, but they just have to let go of them for a more mainstream and wider appeal idea. Panty and Stocking is Hiroyuki Imaishi's like tribute to American movies and shows and stuff, and just tried to apply it to this anime. You know, it's very random, very fan servicey. Most people I think would enjoy it. I thought it was pretty great personally, just because it's different. I think it does have its problems. You know, it's episodic. The pacing is kind of random, and just the anime in general is just it's everywhere. And obviously that troll ending is entertaining. That's it. Orimo is kind of like the shitty version of NHK. You know, oh, this is how anime fans are. They're really happy and they have like these whole giant anime collections, and you know, they have their Oni-chan that's gonna protect them. People are not going to protect you if you have this kind of hobby. Like, the way they portrayed it was just really fake, and it just felt so bullshit to me. Even Koyomi, the main protagonist, he just so self-serving toward Kirino. Like, don't you have your own, like, life? Like, don't you have your own shit to do? You just help your sister all day? Do something with your life. There's a girl that likes you, the glasses girl. She has big tits. Just go for it, man. You don't need to focus on your sister. She's a bitch. She watches freaking Arrow Gay. Like, at that point, I probably would just be like, no, I don't know you.
And then incest.
Anyone who thinks Orimo is a good incest story, please watch Koikaze and then just come back to me. Marduk Scramble. One thing that I really liked about this movie is the visuals. And now the bad part is just the story and stuff. It tried to be a lot like Ghost in the Shell. It just wasn't as philosophical, it wasn't as dark, and wasn't as serious. It managed to remain interesting, this first movie anyway, and it just mostly just action throughout. It was an interesting concept at least, even though it was kind of, they ripped it off from Ghost in the Shell. Very mature movie, like it had sex, it had violence, and you don't really see this kind of movie nowadays.
Princess Jellyfish.
This was an interesting anime because it's kind of like the female version of NHK, and you know, they're trying to do that a lot these days with like Watamote and like second season of Genshiken, which wasn't that bad, but I think this is a much more honest attempt at how female otaku are in real life. While I didn't really enjoy some of the more shoujo-ish romance, I just thought the anime in general was pretty well made, had some decent music, just a good idea and good presentation.
Too bad it's incomplete. Okay, now give me your overall impressions 2010.
I think it just had like a handful of decent anime and then Tatami Galaxy. So it wasn't a horrible year because at least gave us one masterpiece. And in most years, I think there's not even like one anime that I would say is a masterpiece.
2010, one of the better years. Why Tatami Galaxy is awesome.
We have 24 titles for autumn, the failures of which are the following. Iron Man, more Marvel adaptation shame. First season of Nura, that boring ass shonen with the monsters, you won't miss nothing if you skip it entirely. Psychic Detective Yakumo, an average supernatural mystery show with nothing to remember it for. The Legend of the Legendary Heroes, a light novel adaptation that became famous simply because the main character is voiced by the same guy who did Lelouch. And just like the rest of the trash, it's about an overpowered main lead, tsundere's one-dimensional villains, and pacing that is all over the place, skipping in space and time like crazy before ending incomplete. It's like they were trying to fill gaps where tsundere jokes don't happen, with whatever scenarios were popping to their heads. First season of Oreimo, that wonderful self-critique of otaku culture that turns to incest, because as we all know, all normal otakus want to bang their little sisters. And the least failure of them all is Shiki, which is favored by thousands of casuals, simply because it doesn't have gay vampires. The themes of the story are indeed interesting, and when the show wants to be creepy, it is creepy. But as far as execution goes, this anime just fucking sucks. The characters have ridiculous hairstyles, the show switches from a cult horror to some convoluted racism theme, there are hundreds of characters, most of which don't even have a few minutes of screen time. Everybody's acting like a complete idiot, including the vampires whose master plan just makes no bloody sense. And on top of all that, we get this ridiculous kill them all ending, which just feels hollow, incomplete, and nothing but shut that door! This show is just bad! Just because the vampires are not gay does not make it a masterpiece, you tasteless casuals! Then we have the most important thing that matters in modern anime, the fan service section. Dogainu no Chi, gay fetish. Hakuoki, second season. Bishonen Samurai fetish. First season of Milky Holmes, lowly detective fetish. Fortune Arterial, vampire fetish. Amagami SS, first season. Harem with reset ending fetish. Zakuro, monster girl fetish. Heaven's Lost Property, second season. Angel fetish. What a name is that? Masochist fetish. Second season of Tolovru, Witch Fetish. First season of Samurai Girls, Fighting Chicks Fetish. Yosuga no Sora, Incest Fetish. With reset endings so you can fuck all of them. First season of Squid Girl, the beginnings of the cute fish girls doing cute fishing. And we reach the Slice of Life section, which has 2 shafted titles. Just like with all of their comedies, they have a theme which eventually becomes meaningless and then you're just watching it for the visuals. One is the second season of Arakawa Under the Bridge, which was supposed to be about a crazy poor girl and a rational rich guy doing silly things. There was supposed to be a plot about social discrimination and escapism, but then they said, fuck it, just enjoy the shaft visuals. The other one is And Yet the Town Moves, which is supposed to be about maids in a cafe that needs more customers. And we will never find out if they succeed in making it more popular because enjoy the shaft visuals. And finally, we have a title that could have been an amazing psychological exploration of what it means to be an antisocial. Princess Jellyfish had so many wonderful things going for it. It was funny, artistic, it was exploring the lives of a group of hikikomori women. And then it ends incomplete with nothing resolved. Disappointed! It is still an enjoyable anime, but man, it could have been so much more. And we reached the top 3 of the season, with the third place belonging to the first season of The World God Only Knows. It's a weird case where the third season was a deconstruction, the second one was just fan service, and the first one is a parody of date simulations. Not for everyone, and it is very exploitive if you see what the guy is technically doing to the poor girls he's targeting, but still makes fun of the genre, and it does reward you in the third season. Second place goes to the last great title of Gainax, Panty and Stocking, another parody of pretty much everything you can think of. The plot is all over the place, but everything follows a theme of sexual liberation, and combined with the cartoony style, the amazing soundtrack, and the over-the-top action and slapstick, I had a blast watching this despite its tremendous amounts of sleaziness. Stay true, Imaishi, you're doing it right! And first place for this season goes to Katana Gatari, a comical adventure that I can best describe as a non-stop trolling of expectations. It is constantly promising you things that never happen, and then laughs at you for falling for it. Adding the very witty dialogues and the stylish art style makes it very enjoyable, unless you don't like the slow pacing and the constantly disappointing battles. But hey, you're supposed to be trolled, so yeah. 27 titles for summer, and the failures are the following. Occult Academy, a show that thinks having a bit of everything while focusing on nothing will make it good. It didn't! Hitman Reborn is trying to make a comedy out of mafia babies, and it's plain retarded. And then it tries to turn said comedy into a shonen fighting anime with dreadful pacing, wasting half of its duration in useless cooking scenes before ending incomplete. And then there are people who found this to be a great show. Hero Man is Stanley trying to appeal to the anime fans before Marvel begins bombarding them with horrible superhero adaptations, and creates a generic kid with a robot defending the Earth type of show with nothing special to care for it. Stan, this is Japan. You're allowed to show stuff you couldn't in America, and all you got is a kid-friendly show? Fail! Awakening of the Trailblazer, the finale movie to that unfortunate accident that was Gundam 00. Very smart idea, guys. Throw in aliens out of nowhere, spend most of the movie in irrelevant things, and then end it with a time skip where we don't see most of whatever is supposed to be happening. Was selling robot figurines the only thing you cared for? Loops Garus, as much as I disliked Psychopaths, its sci-fi ideas were not nearly as awful as this movie. They built up a futuristic utopia based on monitoring its citizens, and has a bunch of kids bypassing everything like it's the easiest thing in the world. They also throw in a murder mystery which is ridiculed completely by a bunch of lolis learning how to play guitars and drinking tea. The finale gets an Oscar for the most ridiculous revelation as well as the most forced way imaginable to solve everything. Nothing in this travesty is presented properly. Ghibli continues to put families worldwide to sleep with the secret world of Ariete. An amazing world that is not explored, a conflict that doesn't feel important, a tension that doesn't exist, and an ending that leaves out basically everything. If it deserves to be a series, don't make it a movie. House of Five Leaves. You get nothing besides flashbacks of how some people became criminals. They try to make it seem like it's mysterious or artistic because of the art style, but by the end of it there is barely any plot or conflict to care about, thus there is nothing to take from this show. And finally, Rainbow. A bunch of idealistic shonen characters thrown in a cynical seinen setting. You're supposed to find the whole thing tragic for showing children suffering in a cruel world, as well as feeling happy at how they never give up because of the power of friendship or some shit like that. Well, too bad, because they also have the power of guns and raw force with which they can easily solve all their problems, but they don't because they are fucking idiots. The way one of them dies midway was the most funny thing I had watched all year, and then the show proceeds into pretending it's still supposed to be taken seriously. Well, you can't. The characters are passive crybabies and the drama is so forced it becomes nothing but shut the door! Just look at how one-dimensionally evil were the prison guards and then try not to laugh. Oh, such joy and wonder. Now we get to the thing all casuals enjoy the most. Get ready for fan service. Blessing of the Campanella. Generic visual novel adaptation. You date them and then you fuck them. Okami-san and her 7 companions. Generic light novel adaptation. You know the drill, you know what's going on in it. Shakugan no Shana 3rd season. Another generic light novel adaptation about Rieko Gimiya voicing a loli tsundere. And thank goodness it's the last one! Seitokai Yakuin Domo 1st season. 6 jokes. 6 jokes. Get it? 6 jokes. Okay, 6 jokes. Uragiri wa Boku. Gay fetish. Mitsudo Moe 1st season. Lolicon fetish. Strike Witches 2nd season. Military lolicon fetish. Sakurai 2nd season. Fighting chicks fetish. Cat Planet Cuties, cat fetish. Black Butler 2nd season, gay shotacon fetish. And don't pretend it's dramatic or there is a plot or the setting is interesting. It's just about that gay butler seducing his very young master. That's all that happens in this show. High School of the Dead. Boobs and zombies fetish. And of course most of you casuals love how this is an amazing post-apocalyptic action adventure. Ooh, it's about boobs, okay? Animal Tante Kiruminzu. Animal cosplay detectives. So Moe. K-On! 2nd season. Moe and motherfucking T. Giant killing. Football. The end. Major. 6th season. And it's just about baseball. The end. Maid Sama. A romance about a maid. That's it. Average, but nothing to hate it for. And we reach the top 3 of the season, with 3rd being the 2nd season of Sengoku Basara. It is supposed to be gar action with manly samurai, which is a very rare thing to encounter in modern anime. I mean, samurai warriors who are not lolis or busty whores? That's unthinkable! But it's not like I consider it amazing or anything. It's way too goofy to be as good as JoJo. I guess if you want to see stupid battles with samurai, it is fun, but nothing more than that. 2nd place, and we only get the best freaking shonen adventure of all times, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, baby! This is what all other shonen dream of becoming when their balls drop. Without thinking, it gets awarded as the best non-perpetual ongoing shonen of all times. Good stuff! But as much as I love this show, it is simply no match for Tatami Galaxy! This is how you do a captivating coming-of-age story. Pure artistic genius. Watch this one and then feel ashamed for calling a masterpiece anything else at this slice of life. Dear Lord, next to the goodies of summer, spring is a wasteland. I might as well cover the rest of the year in the same video just to spare you the boredom. Plan Z. Smart move, producers. Throw in a generic alien invasion during a generic civil war and pretend less than an hour is enough to properly present everything. Imagine Darker Than Black during the early 20th century and with no fun to give a damn. That's Nitrate 1931. B Gata HK. Starts with the promise of a girl having orgies with 100 strangers. Spends the whole show not getting past second base with a dork instead of finding alpha males to properly slutify herself. The Book of Bantora, a light novel that attempts to be as much complicating as possible and fails miserably at even making sense. Everything in it is random magic and ass pulls. Angel Bits. Oh, it made me cry. It's the best show ever. Yeah, sure. Disregard how setting and characters were barely explored, or how the ending is rushed and basically a stupid info dump. And of course, even the afterlife needs to be taking place in a fucking school. Durarara. Twice as long as Bacano, half as fun, centers on the boring characters instead of the cool ones, and ends incomplete, aka fail! And here we go with the fan service. 1st season of Hakuoki, Bishonen Samurai Fetish. Dance in the Vampire Band, Vampire Lolicon Fetish. Kiss Exes, Incest Fetish. 3rd season of Koihime Mushu, Romance of the Three Kingdoms with Lolis Fetish. 1st season of Quasar of Stigmata, Fighting Chicks Fetish. 4th season of Ikitusen, Fighting Chicks once again. 1st season of Baka and Test, Hideyoshi Cross-Dressing Fetish. Mayoi Neko Overrun, Cats Fetish. Demon King Daimao, generic light novel adaptation about some guy being surrounded by hot chicks, grabbing their boobs and getting superpowers to beat up bad guys. You know the drill. Well, this one at least tries to have the dork becoming an alpha male for a change, but other than that, okay, it's just sleazy fan service. 1st season of Working, Slice of Life with Waiters. That's pretty much it. 1st season of Arakawa Under the Bridge. Slice of life comedy about a rich guy and a poor girl under a bridge doing stuff. And enjoy the shaft visuals, forget the plot. And 1st place for this season goes to Winter Sonata. A vanilla romance about, you know, the usual fuzz. Girl loves boy and they do stuff and yeah, blah blah blah. Average and forgettable? Yes. Does it have any bullshit? No. And it's the only one who did it right this season, so ta-da, 1st place. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the horrible spring season. Let's jump to winter while I have a few more things to say. Last place to the conclusion of Inuyasha for all the build-up and and patience I showed for this show, its payoff was terrible. First 30 episodes are wonderful, then turns to plotless recycling of the exact same thing for over 150 episodes. As for the ending, it's complete bullshit. Element Hunters could have been on par with Digimon Tamers if it had a consistent mood. It is very dark for a children's show. It has a cool chemistry theme of having to defeat monsters with combining elements of the periodic table. It shows adults like the police and the army actually existing and aiding the kids with their superpowers. It had so many good things going for it, and yet the tone is stupid. It feels like it doesn't treat the mass destruction of cities and the death of millions as something horrible, but rather as an excuse for kids to go hunt Pokemons in some magical land. Oh, and those attempts to teach you about the elements with memory games and lectures was so annoying. Trying to be educational in a setting that is a step away from post-apocalyptic just doesn't fit. Too bad, show, too bad. You ruined your chance to shine. Kitty Girl End. Then continuation to that subpar sci-fi chick flick about the lesbians going around and blah blah stuff happened because gonzo. Now with 3 times more fan service and 5 times less sense because modern anime. First season of Tegamibachi. More of that mailman from Afterlife nonsense that goes nowhere. Welcome to the Space Show, yet another stupid movie that many liked a lot for no real reason. Well, what did you expect from casuals who liked SAO? For a children's movie, it is boring, unimaginative, and even has immoral messages by showing parents neglecting their children who need to work from the age of 5 and sell drugs to strangers. This movie is modern, aka it's terrible. Okami Kakushi, light novel adaptation of the Shana clone school of Unthought. Seen one, seen them all, you know the drill. It's shit just like the taste of people who adore the Shana. And here we go once again with the fan service section. Hana Sakeru Seishunen, reverse harem fetish. Ladies versus butlers, butler fetish. Chubra, underwear fetish. Omamori Himari, cat fetish. Tentsimuyo, War on Geminar. Harem fetish with fantasy bits. It pretends to be some sort of action-adventure in a pseudo-medieval setting, but nah, it's still harem. Third season of Hidamari Sketch. Cute girls doing cute sketching. Sound of the Sky. Cute military girls doing cute war activities. Because Japan now makes moe out of the mass extermination of human lives. Second season of Tentai Senshi Sunred. A very good satire of Super Sentai, but it doesn't really have a plot and the duration of each episode is very short, so you just see it as a gag manga in anime form, and that's why I cannot consider it to be a good parody. Same things can be said about the first season of Gintama. Referential humor of Jump Shonen manga. The end. Cross game. Sports about baseball and some romance. Yeah, that's it. Hanamaru Yuchien. Kindergarten fluff slice of life about some girls being in love with their teacher? Ooh. Well, at least it's not Kodomo no Jikan. First season of Kimi no Todoke. Vanilla romance. Girl loves boy and they do stuff and blah blah blah. Final season of Nodam Cantabile. Romance with music flavor. I don't care if it takes place in university, it's still very silly, but there's nothing bad about it, so yeah, okay. For a romance show, it's watchable. First season of a certain scientific railgun. Slice of life with cute girls doing cute science. Not much plot, and it's the second season which truly makes the whole thing shine, but for what it is, it's a nice time waster. Kobato, coming-of-age fantasy about a monster trainer girl. Pretty visuals, not much plot, very slow pacing, but if you're willing to spend a lot of time watching a show about a cute girl being raised in a pseudo-medieval world, talking with monsters and animals and doing fluffy stuff, it's okay. The remake of Space Cobra. James Bond in space. Goofy action about a muscular dude going around in space, beating up bad guys and saving hot chicks. Ah, good retro times. Nothing deep, but hey, it's watchable and has an alpha male. What more can you ask from modern anime? And top spot of this season is the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. I didn't like the show. I found it to be just reset ending magic by a loli tsundere. But at least this movie tries to mix things up by changing the dynamics and even having a few bits of character exploration. Still full of more bullshit, but it tries for a change. And that is all for this year. As for the tops, they don't even need consideration. Top anime series is of course Tatami Galaxy. And don't worry, Full Metal Alchemist, I didn't forget you. You will get your reward in 2009. I didn't find any worthy OVA in this year, so victory goes automatically to the carryover winner, which is again Black Lagoon, Roberta's Blood Trail. And since this is the last year it airs in, it won't be a candidate in earlier years. But remember, we still have Hellsing Ultimate, keep trying to win for once. As for movies, I again didn't find anything great up until the last minute where I mentioned the disappearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. Bad year for movies, but what can you do, c'est la vie.